Welcome to the VC3 News Update. I am Shanette Hackshaw with the top headlines. The National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, presented the final draft of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Comprehensive Disaster Management Policy at the National Stakeholders Consultation, which began today at the Seventh-day Adventist Conference Room at Old Montrose. The two-day consultation is being held through funding from the World Bank under the Canada Caribbean Resilience Facility. The consultation targets national-level stakeholders, public and private sector, civil society, NGOs, CBOs, and faith-based organizations with a role and/or interest in comprehensive disaster management in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Addressing the opening ceremony, NEMO's director Michelle Forbes said the update started in 2020, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the last of rare eruption and other challenges, it was impacted the reviewing of the policy.
However, today offers the opportunity for us to review the policy and align it with all the national, regional, international agendas, some of which are like the Sendai Framework, the Samoa Pathway, even our own homegrown comprehensive disaster management policy. And I must say that our policy will even be more advanced than the CDMA's regional CDM policy. And I see Van shaking her head there. We must ensure in this consultation that all our sectoral policies also align with this national resilience agenda for St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and also to our own individual work programs where we are seeking to really manage our risk in an ever-changing global landscape. It's all about how we are going to manage our risk and eventually what resources will be needed to ensure that we implement the various programs that are going to be proposed under this comprehensive disaster management policy.
Ms. Forbes appealed to the participants to look at the policy, especially at aspects relating to their particular areas, and see how they can all work together to ensure that they align programs with the national agenda. The main objectives of the sessions are to present the context and outcome of St. Vincent and the Grenadines draft Comprehensive Disaster Management Policy updating process, to review and endorse the draft SVG Comprehensive Disaster Management Policy, and to agree on the next steps for operationalizing the policy and executing strategy, interventions, and specific actions. The issue of male performance is one of the issues the Ministry of Education needs to tackle going forward. Minister of Education Curtis King told VC3 News that although 7 of the top 10 places in this year's CPE examinations were taken by boys, which is very encouraging, it should not prevent the ministry from looking at some deeper issues within the education sector.
However, the broader issue of males' performance academically in our institutions is still an issue that we have to address, because overall the boys' performances suggest that they are still trailing the girls by a significant number. The overall performance of our boys show that there was a 79.17 percentage pass rate among our boys, whereas the percentage was just over 91% for the girls.
Minister King said despite the improvement we have seen among the boys, especially in terms of the top performers, the broader issue of male performance on a whole is still an issue we have to address.
I always make the point, our boys are equally committed when it comes to their performance at school, whether it is in academics or any other area for that matter. But the truth is, I think perhaps at this earlier age, I don't know, the girls tend to be better. There are some studies that suggest that the way our school system is organized perhaps favors the girls over the boys. I mean, in a general way of speaking.
The former educator said there are, however, identifiable traits that we can see that supports the narrative that the education system is more conducive to girls than the boys.
If you look at the number of instructors, teachers, for example, just looking at the crude numbers, the system today is about 65 to 70% females to about 30 to 35% males. In terms of the teachers, I mean, you would not have 40% of our teachers presently who would be males. And so we have to seek always to attract more and more male teachers in the system.
Mr. King said in some primary schools, there is a possibility that a male pupil can move from grade K to grade 6 without having the influence of a male teacher. And finally, in our local news stories, a number of farmers are struggling with the citrus greening disease, which is affecting citrus produce in the country. Minister of Agriculture Suboto Caesar, in response to a query posted by a caller to Sunday's Issues at Hand program aired on WeFM, said this country and other Windward Islands are facing a global issue where we have been impacted and are still dealing with the citrus greening.
You'd realize that your orange tree in the yard just stays and dried up. The same thing with some of the limes. Some have. Now, about 3 years ago, we had a grant, and we had some allocations in the budget, and we distributed several thousand plants that were better positioned to resist the citrus greening. And Cecil, as you're aware, the volcano erupted.
Yes.
And we lost over 90% of those plants.
The minister, who spoke via telephone, said in a few months' time, the ministry will be distributing some more plants, as it is waiting for an improvement in the dry conditions presently experienced in the country. He, however, noted that despite this challenge, there is an opportunity being presented to work with the private sector who have nurseries.
We are willing to go into public-private partnership with these nurseries so that we can provide the planting material to them to do the reproduction, so that we can have a even more fruitful distribution of these. So we are doing as much as we can do on the agriculture stations. We have identified a station and we are ramping up the production there.
He said the issue of the citrus greening in SVG is not local, but something global. And there is also another disease on our doorstep, far more devastating than black sigatoka.
We are doing our best from a quarantining standpoint, from standpoint of being more resilient and fighting a lot of these things that are coming into the country. Thank God we do not have the African giant snail here, because you are aware that we have significant investments in the root crop sector.
Those are our local news stories. Continue watching the VCU3 News Update on Channel 114 for regional and international news, along with the VCU3 Sports Update with Chalician Anton.